Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you might be joining us from, and welcome to Wise at Work Virtual Communities. My name is Parneet Pal. I am the Chief Science Officer at Wisdom Labs, and I'm so happy that you're joining us today for this very special session on resilience through self-compassion with our guest, Laurie Cameron. Now, a lot of you, I see you are joining us from London, from Paris, from Turkey, and of course, from all over the States and many other parts of the world. And we've been so happy to see you week after week these past couple of months as we've been running these coronavirus relief virtual community sessions. But if you're new to Wisdom Labs, we are a San Francisco-based company solving for stress, burnout, and loneliness in the workplace using the science of mindfulness, resilience, and compassion. And in our work, we work with organizations and companies worldwide, building communities of practice just like this within organizations. And we're so lucky. We're so lucky that we have a network of excellent teachers who've been donating their time and their wisdom to help us all come together every week for 30 minutes to learn, practice, and connect with one another to grow our resilience so that we can show up in these very unusual circumstances with greater wisdom. Now, throughout the session with Laurie, we will be using the chat room a lot. So please do interact with Laurie, the prompts and the questions that she asks. She wants to hear from you. And of course, if you have any questions, please do post them as well. And I'll curate some of those questions at the end as well. So what I'd like to do now is to introduce Laurie Cameron. So Laurie is a world-renowned mindfulness expert and teacher. She started out as a change leader at Accenture, so she's very familiar with how the workplace works and organizations work. But she's also been a student of Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh for more than 25 years, and this has really informed her practice. She's now the CEO of Purpose Blue Mindful Leadership. In addition, she's also an author. She's a National Geographic author of Mindful Day, Practical Ways to Find Focus, Calm, and Joy from Morning to Evening. And most recently, she has also recorded The Power of Self-Compassion for Audible. You'll also find Laurie on our app, our Wise at Work app. So please do check out the two series that she's done there. One is on becoming a mindful leader and the other on finding more work-life balance. So I'm really happy to turn this over now to Laurie. You'll find that she has this incredible ability to translate philosophy, science, and wisdom teachings into very practical ways of how we can show up in our lives. So thank you so much again, Laurie. We're so grateful you're here, and over to you.
Thank you, Parneet. That was a beautiful introduction, and I'm so glad to be here. And I just love seeing all these friends and clients and people that I haven't met yet. It's just welcome, and thank you for taking time out to come together in community. I was in meditation this morning thinking about joining all of you today and really looking forward to it and realizing how much that I also need this time together to deepen resilience through self-compassion. By now we're 2 months into this global pandemic, and we're all experiencing so much suffering in shared ways and unique ways. Whether or not we're waking up in the middle of the night gripped by fear, which happened to me recently, or whether we're dealing with grief or loss, personal pain and suffering. Maybe we're worried about someone we care about at work or in our family life, or maybe we're navigating disruption. I know in my own business, I know with 100% of my clients that we are in the midst of an incredibly turbulent amount of professional disruption as our business models are shifting, as our services are transforming, as our clients are going through change. So I just want to acknowledge that we're 2 months into it, and there's almost like a fatigue that's coming on, where we white knuckled it in the beginning and we came together and we're doing our best to adjust, but now we're entering into this reality, this navigating an idea that we're in it for the long while. And while we slowly ease back into a new reality, a new normal, we know that we're grieving and letting go of things that we've become accustomed to. So I just want to name that. And that recognition and naming is part of how we expand resilience. And it's the first step in working with the strategy of self-compassion. So let's just talk for a moment, just a moment on resilience. Many of you have been with us in the virtual community series and have been working with resilience. But resilience is our capacity to recover from adversity, change, or even wildly fantastic things. It's when life knocks us way off the path. It's our capacity to get back on that bicycle and ride it, however wobbly. And the good news is that Richie Davidson, the neuroscientist from the Center for Healthy Minds, teaches us that resilience is a capacity that's trainable. And there are key pillars to resilience. Those of you that have been with us have been learning about acceptance. We can work with a mindful quality of impermanence, knowing that change is normal. Connection is a key pillar to resilience, and community, which is exactly what we're doing here together. So there are a number of pillars of resilience. And the key pillar that we're going to focus on today is self-compassion. So I just want to take a moment and have you enter in the chat. What's been your biggest kind of source of emotional distress or suffering or uncertainty? What are you working with the most in your life? Whether it's work or personal, what is kind of the biggest source of disruption for you? Just go ahead and enter a word or two in the chat so I can get a sense of where you are. Unpredictability of the future. Uncertainty, unpredictability. If someone's working on their master's, what does that look like? Lack of physical contact with friends. We are a social species. We're used to being with others. We need it. Transitions, not being able to work with students and community, the future. Estrangement from the daughter, from loved ones. There's been job loss. The news is very difficult. Loneliness. These are part of our shared common humanity, our shared common experience as human beings around the world. And it's helpful here in community to just acknowledge these, to name them. Where we fit in, anxiety, knowing that our identity is changing for many of us, our roles at work, maybe new jobs, maybe working differently. Age, checking in our own quality of health and wondering, what our degree of risk is. There's a lot that we're navigating. And self-compassion can really help us with that. It's one of the key strategies that I'm using. So what we know about self-compassion is that the ability to turn our natural compassion inward towards ourselves is a way that we can build our own resilience to navigate this difficulty. So based on the work of Krista Neff and Christopher Germer, I'm going to walk you through a practice. We're going to do it together to cultivate self-compassion, to expand our resilience in this difficult time. Through a lot of research, Krista Neff and Christopher Germer found that the model of self-compassion that's been tested around the world to promote resilience and longevity has three parts. Mindfulness, the ability to sense into our direct experience, just like you did just now, sensing what is it that's causing me suffering and pain? What am I navigating right now? What's my experience right now? The second part is common humanity, is actually pausing and recognizing that you're not alone. We're in this together. that this is a shared experience that's actually happening around the world. It's unprecedented, this aspect of common humanity. And that can actually help us when we're isolated, when we're worried, when we wake up in the middle of the night. We know that we're not alone. And the third part of this practice is kindness, self-kindness, directed towards ourselves. So self-compassion brings the two wings of mindfulness and compassion together. And we take those and apply them towards ourselves. We meet ourselves in difficulty like we would a friend. So let's do this together. Just sit in a way or stand, however you might be, in a way that's comfortable and relaxed for you. You can close your eyes if you like. You can gaze softly at the floor, or you can just keep looking at me if you've got video. So bring to mind the situation or fear or the story of the uncertainty or turbulence or disruption that you're working with in your life. And there might be many. Just whatever first comes to mind, choose that. And you can close your eyes if you like and see yourself in the movie of your life. You're witnessing yourself at this point in time in 2020, in the global pandemic, and just become an observer, a witness to your experience. Bringing attention into the body and just taking a deep breath here. Feeling the inhale and the exhale. Just feeling your body and sensing any emotions that are present. A way to do that is to scan the body for physiological sensations. Maybe there's a tightness in the stomach, rapid heartbeat. Maybe your hands are clenched. Just sensing the physiological sensations in the body. And then looking at what might be under that. What's the emotion that's attached to that sensation? And naming it. Fear is here. Worry. Sadness. Loneliness. That's step one of this practice, mindfulness. Bringing a recognition, turning attention inward, and naming what's here. We name it to tame it. We create space when we name it. Let's move to step two. Step two is common humanity. And here is where you say to yourself clearly, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one experiencing loneliness. I'm not the only one that lost their job or is uncertain about how I'm going to make money the rest of the summer or the fall. I'm not the only one that's experiencing disruption or job change. So we connect to our shared human common experience. And that is a very powerful way to remember that we're interconnected, that we're in this together. So taking a breath. If you like, you can put your hand on your chest. I like to do this with step three. Step three is self-kindness. This is where we take our natural compassion and direct it towards ourselves. We meet ourselves with kindness, with a loving awareness. Whether you're at work, at home, in between Zoom meetings, right here, practice it with me. We sense what will serve. That's compassion, sensing suffering and what will relieve the suffering. You can ask yourself, what do I need right now? What will help me? I sometimes say, it's okay, sweetheart. What do you need? So you're meeting yourself as you would a friend. So just take a deep breath here. When we use the gesture of touch, we tap into our own inner pharmacy. We release the neurotransmitter oxytocin, which soothes the body, calms the nervous system, creates more space. So sense what's up for you now, what's rising, how you're feeling. Just taking another deep breath here. And now slowly opening the eyes. So the 3 steps of self-compassion are mindfulness, common humanity, and self-kindness. You can do these anywhere, waiting in the long line at the grocery store, in the middle of your next Zoom meeting, when you receive a difficult email. Any of these moments are times that you can do this. And you can shift your state. Self-compassion increases confidence. It relieves the nervous system. It builds up our immunity. And it helps us tap into a growth mindset where we can look for new possibilities. We expand our way of thinking. I hope that this was useful for you to incorporate and practice self-compassion as a daily way to expand your resilience during this very difficult time. I'd love to take any questions that you have or comments. I'll be looking at the chat. So if you have any questions that I can answer, please enter them now. Parneet, thank you for joining me. Parneet will help us with navigating questions and supporting you.
Thank you so much, Laurie. I just wanted to say that was such a beautiful practice. And like I mentioned, it was so good to correlate the practice with the reality of our lives. So how does this practice show up in our everyday activities or meetings? So I think that was really beautifully done. So thank you for that.
You're so welcome.
One of the questions that, that comes up around self-compassion is, well, there's a couple of questions that I'd love you to address. One is, what's the relationship between self-esteem and self-compassion? Are they the same thing? And then, what might you say to people who feel that, well, if I start being so compassionate towards myself the whole day, I'm going to become a slacker. Am I going to be motivated to reach my goals if I'm just kind of like being so soft with myself all the time? So I'd love for you to respond to that, please.
Yeah, happy to. Those are 2 very common questions I get when teaching self-compassion. So let's take self-esteem. I know in our culture here in the West, there's often a big push to increase self-esteem. But the challenge with self-esteem is we're comparing ourselves to others, and we're competing, and we're comparing, and we're looking over our shoulder and seeing how we're measuring up. And that actually diminishes motivation. It decreases our willingness to grow and learn and try harder. It makes us feel smaller, and it robs us of self-confidence. Self-compassion, on the other hand, increases our confidence because it has nothing to do with other people. It has everything to do with ourselves. It's a way to self-heal. It's a direct path to growth and expanding our capabilities. So self-compassion is a purely positive strategy that is independent of anyone around us. And at a time when we're moving from an ego-based system to an ecosystem, we're moving from me to we, it's really the strategy to go with. And then the other thing you brought up about a lot of people have a fear, especially hardworking high achievers have a fear that with self-compassion, we're going to let ourselves off the hook. I need the voice in my head. I've got to have that inner critic that's, I think Dan Harris calls it the inner cattle prod. I've got to beat myself up in order to keep all the balls in the air. And what we find in the research is the opposite is true. The inner critic is another coping mechanism that developed over time, and it's tied to our evolutionary biology to keep us alive. But that inner voice in the head does not actually promote well-being or positive states of being centered and grounded and looking at what's possible. It actually pushes us down. I call it going below the line. And the inner critic robs us of motivation and the sense of possibility. So letting go of that voice in the head, I call it befriending instead of silencing, but hey, I've got you, I hear you, thanks, but I've got this. And then meeting yourself with kindness, just saying, this is hard. I'm not the only one. What do I need right now? I need more resources. I need to navigate the deadline with my boss. I need to have an extra call with my client. I need to go to sleep early. Just sensing what will serve so we can take wise action is really a way to get more done with more efficiency, better quality, and a little more ease.
Beautiful. Thank you for clarifying that. And actually, that addresses one of the other questions that we had in the as well around the inner critic. There's a question here around, are there other phrases you've seen work well for meeting ourselves with loving awareness, things in addition to what do you need?
Yeah, well, it's a beautiful question. I invite anyone who's got other phrases that work for them when you're meeting yourself with loving awareness or kindness. If you've got phrases that work for you, please share them right now in the chat. And I'm also happy to share things that work for me and a lot of my clients. I'm hearing you've got this. I love you've got this. And I use that one. I just say, Laurie, you've got this. Come on, you can do it. It's words of encouragement, slightly different than affirmation, but it's like an inner coach. You've got this. What will help? What do you need? What will best serve? It's okay. Sometimes just it's okay works. Kristen Neff, the researcher I mentioned earlier, uses that one. I'm valuable. What can I do to support you? These are beautiful coming out of the chat. I'm loving, I'm lovable, I'm loved. Excellent. And the meta meditation, the loving kindness practices, I often use, and I'll put. You can find a free self-compassion meditation on Insight Timer. It's a longer one, and at the end of that, I include the loving kindness phrases. May you be healthy and strong. May you be safe and protected. May you have a day of ease. May you have the resources you need. So that's a wonderful suggestion from Allison, that we can pull on timeless contemplative phrases to apply at moments of need for self-compassion. You're great the way you are. Beautiful, because that incorporates self-acceptance. These are so good. I knew you guys would just come forward with so many wonderful phrases. And the key thing that we're seeing here is that we're each individual, unique human beings, and that we can adapt the language and the phrases so that they work for us. Many of you are in different parts of the world, and I wish I could speak these phrases in French and Turkish and all the languages I'm seeing, but use what works for you. So that can be your homework from after this time together, is to practice self-compassion and try on some different phrases. A phrase for mindfulness, this is here, or this is hard, or this is stressful, or ouch, or oh, whatever works for you for that first step. Second step, I'm not alone, or someone else is experiencing this right now. So find your own phrase for step 2 and for step 3. You're great. You've got this. You can do it. It's okay. So find the phrases that work for you. I love that question. It's very powerful.
Indeed. And I love how you've so beautifully demonstrated, Laurie, that when we start applying this 3-step process, it really helps us, move away from the rumination of that self-focus, that fight or flight. Yeah. And really, when we're kind to ourselves and when we tap into that common humanity, it just beautifully expands our perspective. And that enables us to get out of that rut of thinking those thoughts of anxiety and move into like a more motivated state on how we can help both ourselves and others. So I love that. So thank you very much.
You're so welcome.
So thank you so much, all of you who've been typing in the chat room and interacting with us. We love your comments. We love that you're so present during these sessions with us as we build this community. Unfortunately, we are at the end of the session. I know time flies when we're having fun. But before we go, I do want all of us to use and expand our practice. All of you have 90-day free access, no strings attached, access to the Wise at Work app. So please make use of that. As I mentioned, we have 2 beautiful series that Laurie has done on the app that you can use. If you have any questions about bringing this kind of work to your organizations, please feel free to write to us at info@wisdomlabs.com. And finally, I just want to remind everyone that our next session, our next virtual communities, is going to be on June 10th. So there's no session next week, but the next one will be on June 10th. And we're going to be joined by Scott Shute, who is the head of mindfulness and compassion at LinkedIn. And he's going to talk to us about how gratitude can help us move from me to we as we build our resilience. So I really hope you will join us then. All that's left for me to say is, Laurie, again, thank you so much for your beautiful presence and your teaching. We are so, so grateful for your wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me. And I love being in community with all the people that have joined us here. And if any of you are on Instagram, please follow me there. I lead a very visual life and love to see you. Yes,
absolutely. And it's can you remind us of your website as well, Laurie?
Yes, thank you. I'm at purposeblue.com, PURPOSEBLUE, one word, purposeblue.com. So join me and join our community. I write and have a blog and would love to include you in these writings and hear from you as we did today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Take good care.
Thank you, Praneet.
Thanks.